Hi, welcome to Biz Passion Voice. Thank you for coming today. We have an amazing person here today, Misha Safran, who I know and love. She has got the biggest heart that I have ever seen, and she is always
Oh,
available. That's one of the things that amaze me the most about her. So I just had to get that right off. It just seemed like the first thing
oh,
I
you're
needed to
so
say.
sweet.
Um, Misha is the owner of Safran Consulting, and she's got some great news for you. And so we're going to put the links in the information section, description below the video. So check that out as soon as we're done. Misha is a joy and resilience coach working with students and their families to build compassionate communication and play into their lives with emphasis on finding ways to distress their lives, build self confidence, and support academic success with executive functioning skills. Welcome, welcome, Misha. Thank you for coming
Thank you.
today.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much.
You're
And
so
you got me
welcome.
smiling so hard, so much that my jaw's hurting already, just from the very first thing you said. So I'm kind of like, ah, if anything goes wrong, I don't care because I just enjoyed that moment.
Well, it's so true. I love to speak to what's true. Like when people can really just it's easy. It's easy because it's true, just
Mm,
open-hearted, like open and available not just for people but to new experiences and seeing what's possible. And I think it's just a really amazing character trait to be able to do that because it's
mm,
not easy, especially during these times when you're uncertain, uncertain times, that really
yeah.
is easy to just kind of clamp down and just try to get things done. But when you can really open up to other people and to other possibilities and not lock down and say, I can't because I have to, survive type feeling,
Hmm.
then
Hmm.
it really is just a blessing. It's a blessing to everybody around you and
Mm.
just to continue to be open ourselves. So it's something that you
Thank
pass
you.
on as you go through and do all of the things. She's also the fastest worker I've ever known. She like the
You're already
while we're
getting me to
talking about it.
cry.
No,
I didn't know you
well,
were going to be doing this today.
because we've talked about technology a lot, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so like it's something that you haven't just done a lot in your life, and so you're learning a lot of new things. But again, the fastest person to like take something new, figure it out, and like start using it, which a lot of people will be like, well, I kind of know, I don't, and, they just kind of like tip you in and they come and go back out and they tip you in a little bit again, you know. But she just like whole hog, just like, okay, so this is what we're doing. And then she'll just like get it done. It's amazing. So,
Thank you. I
so
love learning and I think that's why I still love working with students, and families because I'm a lifelong learner. My grandmother instilled that in me. She lived till she was almost 100 and just this idea of to continuously learn something new every day is a gift as opposed to thinking I must be stupid because I have to still learn stuff, right?
yeah.
And it's just this, it starts with, like you taught the title, compassion, right? Compassion with ourselves. If I don't know how to do something, I can figure it out. I mean, I actually took out an entire garbage disposal. I actually was able to do some spackling on a wall I'd never done. I changed the spark plugs in my car. Like, I love to learn. I get so excited when I'm learning
That's
something
amazing.
new, but applicable. I feel a lot of pain for the students who are in school having to learn subjects that just feel so inapplicable right now. So compassion, compassion, compassion for all of us. But
Yes.
thank you for saying all that.
Oh, you're so welcome. And yeah, and it does help to have that inner verve of wanting to know something new and then being again able to, I think the best part of being a teacher is being able to pass that on, like the excitement of the experience instead of the fear of the unknown, right? Of the new information.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Awesome.
Or the fear
So
of failure, because there's learning in failure too. And if we can approach it with compassion, it's all yeah, it ends up being more beautiful. So
absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, and the more open we are, the more we learn from the experience
yeah.
if it does go pear-shaped.
Yes.
So yeah, and so that is that kind of where people are. I always like to find out like where are people when they find you? Like how are your clients feeling and where they're at when they find out that this is a possibility for them.
Yeah. So it really depends because most of the time people seek me because their student is really struggling in school. I work with fifth graders through even I have a college student right now. So, from the age of 10 to the age of 19, 20, their students are really struggling to do what we think they should do, but it's called adulting, which is another word for executive functions, right? And really the
Yeah.
frontal lobe doesn't kind of mature until the age of 25. And even then, what skills do we have unless we're shown how to? And so a lot of these families are coming in thinking, oh my gosh, my kid's failing their tests. My kid's got all these missing assignments. They don't know, they found a really important paper due at the bottom of their backpack. I mean, with virtual learning right now, there's not a lot of backpacks, but under
Yeah,
the bed or in the cat litter, who knows? And so they're stressed out. They're really stressed out and feeling absolutely overwhelmed and it's so much that learning isn't enjoyable. It's just a rote process. And a lot of these families find me because they're done. They're pulling their hair out. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to support my own kid, which is actually a good thing because they're not supposed to really support their own kid in all of this. Which we know that old phrase, and I hope I don't actually have to look it up, but it takes a village. It really is true. When a parent says, I need to get help for my student, my child, I give them a huge pat on the back, congratulations, that they're not taking the world on their shoulders
yeah,
because we have to give our children exposure to other resources. But what's interesting is when parents come to me, it usually takes a couple weeks, but then they realize, oh, I have some things to work on too. So I have part of my program with my students is to work with the parents.
yeah.
And it's been amazing. And that's why, I mentioned bridging the communication gap and learning how to play again. It's an all package kind of relationship to be able to support the student because it's not just the student.
It's not, right? And I love that you pointed out that the students need or the kids need more than one place of support. Like they need to know that there's other ways of being supported in their environment. And so it's not just up to the parents to know everything
Mhm.
and do everything and get everything right.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
there are things that you get to learn through your kid that you get to the next level, get to a higher level by seeing your kid succeed in a way that you couldn't imagine maybe before.
Yeah.
So yeah, so
Yeah,
that's a real
exactly.
blessing for the parents too. They probably didn't
Yeah.
even know it was coming.
Yeah. 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 Well, it's funny because I have a student right now that his parents were nagging him about something. And I said, well, tell you what, let's see if we can make a deal where I get to nag you instead. He's like, uh, okay. And at first it's like, I don't want anybody to nag
It's like,
me, right?
no, thank
But then when
you.
we talked about it a little bit more and I gave him these two different choices, he's like, so you would tell me and work with me to get this done and my parents would stop nagging me. I'm like, yeah, it's not like you have both people nagging you, but we have to find the one that's going to be the most productive. And so, the idea is let's restore the relationship so you're having a child parent relationship and let me be the nag. Let me come in
Yeah.
there and take care of, hey, did you get this? I mean, some of my students we text every day just until they're ready to kind of wean off of that constant connection, where they will say, yep, I did that, yep, I turned that in. And it's wonderful because the family dynamics at home get calmer and more peaceful
Yeah.
and more beautiful. In fact, this particular kid told me they got to play a board game the other night together, and I was like, oh,
Oh,
how awesome. you
yeah.
know but I think the hardest piece is in the beginning stages. What I work really hard with parents when we first meet, before I even meet the kid, because I will not meet the kids until I've met with the parents and they're on board with both time, investment. Yes, I'm going to put you in touch with therapists, school teachers, etc. When they are all on board there, then I say, okay, then I'm willing to meet your kid and see if there's a connection. And we can
Yeah.
go all through that, and maybe there's not a connection. And then I refer them to another academic life coach, right? Because
Yeah.
it's not going to work if the kid and I don't connect. But the biggest piece in those first meetings is finding out what are your reasonable expectations? What are you wanting to happen as a result of working with me?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes their reasonable expectations are unreasonable,
Yeah.
like really unreasonable. And so compassionately, we narrow down to what is really doable in these next 6 months, or what is really doable in 1 year. Depends on how long they contract with me. I have a summer program, I have a semester program, and I have a year strong program. And so it's just identifying with the parent, are we trying to live vicariously through our kid? Are we have expectations that are premature, and really narrowing down, like I said, with compassion, what are the first couple things we're going to focus on? Because we can't focus on all 10. We just
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah. It just, yeah,
Yeah.
dilutes everything. I just had a conversation with somebody the other day where she was like, that's one of her you know audacious goals type of thing, is where she can just be with her family instead of having to do things, making
Mhm.
sure they get things done and like all of that kind of thing. And I think that's one of the things you're talking to, is just not having to task orient, and you can just be with your kid,
Yeah.
um, yeah, and so that and then once you have that centered goal, then you don't have to be frantically checking all the checkpoints, right? You can just like be focused
Right.
on the one thing and just noticing the progress. And what we know in education is
Yeah.
that if you can move forward on one thing, it's going to affect the rest. It's going to,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah.
So one of the students I started with last year, it was about organization. Like, what are my assignments? Where are my Zoom links? What's due when? Why did I not turn that in? It was due 3 days ago. Why does it say it's due now? And we literally spent the first 8 weeks together getting familiar with Google Calendar,
Mm,
putting everything in. He's like, "Oh, but this is ridiculous. It's like, it's here. It's on my Google Classroom. Why do I have to put it on Google Calendar?" And what came to him was, "Oh, if it's on my Google Calendar, I not only see what it is, when it's due, but then I can put a link there that goes to my Google Classroom, and I can do it and submit it." And now that kid is like flying. He doesn't need
yeah.
that. He doesn't need that goal. So
Yeah.
we've come up with other goals. So it's not like I say,
Yeah.
okay, what's a reasonable goal? We do it, and then I just play with the kids all year long. No, we have another meeting and we say, okay, look, this is going really well. What's the next goal? Right. I mean,
Yeah.
sure, it would be fun to play all the time, but it can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you were a teacher for a long time, like right?
Yeah.
Like
30
can
years.
30
Yeah.
years. Wow.
Yeah. I know. I'm
And
really getting up there.
well, in order to have
I mean, better than the
experience,
alternative.
the rest has to happen. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so yeah, when you moved into consulting, like I know it can be like a nerve-wracking experience. And I just want to speak to that a little bit, because I think when you're really stepping out into something that you know that you're good at, you're passionate about, um, we often have to get resourced around that. Uh, how did you know that it was just the right next step for you? How did you know that? How did your passion pull you forward?
Yeah, it's a really great question. So I had some circumstances that were very uncomfortable, that for a couple of years were leading me towards making a different decision regarding my career.
Hmm.
I will tell you, I miss the classroom. I miss the students. I miss that paycheck with medical benefits.
Yes.
And I also know that because of my circumstances, both dealing with chronic pain and also dealing with a discrimination case, that it was time. It was time for me to really move forward in not just having my own business, but also doing other things in the world. I mean, I have a podcast and a webinar, and we invite people from the BIPOC community to talk about systemic racism. I have a podcast. I'm a singer and songwriter. There are other things I wanted to do. And my job, my day job, wasn't flexible enough. And so what really pulled me, besides my passion for kids and parents and families, is that I'm just the flexibility to be able to put my hands into lots of different pots. and
Yeah.
really play with my life and fulfill the dreams that I want on an ongoing basis.
Right,
I mean,
right.
that it's just that, and I would say it's just that easy, but it's not that easy.
It's not.
I mean, being visible and telling people, like being on this interview with you right now is easier than it was a year ago, but like telling people, hey, hire me instead of saying, oh, I know this great coach. I know this great tutor. I know this great restaurant. But wait a minute, I'm, I'm, I am great. I'm great too. Hey,
Yeah.
hire me.
Yeah.
That's a really big challenge for a lot of entrepreneurs. Um, so yeah, so I mean, what my passion is to help people in whatever area it is, and asking to be paid for it is the next challenge. Like, I mean, I've been doing it,
Yeah.
but I know today I stand in my value. I know what I offer. I am resourced, and yeah, I love the fact that I still get to interact with the education world. I would love to recreate the entire system. Talk about systemic issues. I would like to organize the entire structure, but I can't do that right now. So, it's like the starfish, one child at a time, one mom at a time, one family at a time.
Yes, yes. And you're speaking to something that is what I know about you is the multi-passionate just parts of you that there's just so many things that you do and you do well. And I think
Mhm.
when you have that many things inside of you, eventually just having like a one job description that's taking the majority of your life doesn't always fit anymore, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that that what you were talking about, like about getting resourced and being able to do things that you are passionate about in more than one area is what makes you especially good at the joy and resilience piece, you know. Can you speak about that a little bit? I have my own opinions, obviously, around this, but like, how did those things connect, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So I feel like I used to be really serious. Um, I mean, I can still be serious. My kids would tease me because I take things so literally, but I'm also extremely playful and have been for a very long time. But I used to get teased for it, that I was too emotional, too sensitive. And if I laughed, I was immature. And that drove me crazy. And I felt like somehow I need to break free of this. So I had an experience with my children probably about, gosh, 10 years ago already. I was doing the single mom thing, three boys at home. And one of the kids, something happened and we were mad at each other. And I said something, and my son didn't mock me, but he said it in a different way and started laughing. And I started laughing. Like I had a moment, like a split second of like, ooh, I should be really pissed off right now. But it was like, wait a minute, that was really funny. And we both just started cracking up. It was hilarious. And in that moment, I felt this kind of dissolving feeling, like tingly, and like, wow, this was really beautiful. And what happened was we were able to then address whatever the issue was with love,
Yeah.
because I gave that opportunity for the emotions to just break, like it didn't have to be so serious. And in that moment, I realized, dang, I'm going to continue to be playful. I'm not going to just get serious all the time. Kids are kids. They're not out there to make our lives miserable. They're struggling with their own thing. Just like the rest of the world, people are struggling with their own thing, adults and kids alike. And so if I'm constantly looking at somebody's experience as being a negative and out there to cause me to have a negative experience, then I'm not going to have any joy. And then I'm not going to have any resilience, because I'm going to consistently falling backwards and forward and falling backwards and forward and struggling. So I believe that the more mindful I got in that moment helped propel me to being able to absolutely find joy in just about anything. So a little example, my partner went for a run the other day. Actually, was it yesterday or Friday? And she saw four bear. So I'm also part of the LGBTQ community, by the way.
Yeah.
So she saw four bears, huge bears, and it was amazing. She took videos and fortunately didn't get eaten and got home. and showed me the videos. And I was so excited. And then I'm doing dishes and there's this tiny little red spider on the little in middle of the two sinks. And I was fascinated. I literally stopped doing the dishes and just sat there, watched the spider, recorded it, got so excited, later was watching the video. So it's the little things that many people forget. And so when I live with curiosity, I can have more joy. I do silly things. Like the other morning, my nose was cold and I was eating my oatmeal. I took the bowl up to my nose. I was like, oh, wow, that's really cool. That warms my nose. And then my partner's like, why aren't you videotaping that? I'm like, you're right. I have to. I have to share everybody that this is a new technique. You know what? You can warm your nose with your oatmeal bowl. And
Yeah.
I did it. Right? But if I don't have that joy, if I don't allow that joy into my life, then I'm not going to build the resilience I need when things are really hard,
Mhm.
because it's like my podcast, which is called Coexistence, Joy, Pain, and Truth. If I don't accept there's a duality here, then I'm going to be forever on the debate. That how I say it on the debate team. I do that with my students too. Let's just
Yeah.
blah blah. And if we're on the debate team, we cannot really experience either one because we're constantly arguing. And what we need to have for joy and resilience is acceptance of both. They both exist,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? So, yeah, we've had a lot of loss this year in the pandemic in 2020, 21. We've also had a lot of love. I mean, so much love, more love, I think, than I've seen in a really long time. And
Yeah.
they both exist.
Yeah.
And so when I talk to people, my students, my families, et cetera, about this joy and resilience piece, it's just really identifying that we got to get through stuff, but we can do it with a little, we don't have to always sit in that victim place. I heard somebody say today about being a victim or a victor over your life,
Yeah. Yeah.
with your
Yeah.
life. And that's where
Yeah.
joy comes in.
Yeah, and being able to find that is how you allow for those other possibilities of solutions where if you're always just looking at something as a pure problem, there's no way you're going to see the way out of the situation,
Right.
right? So
Right.
that's amazing. And there's something I always ask, but like in uh kind of that is it. But in your vision of the world and how it's going, how does what you do change the world?
Hmm. So this is an emotional piece for me. Everywhere my mom went, she passed away 5.5 years ago. She never left an office, a store, a neighborhood, a home without making somebody else's life happier. And according to my partner, I do that too. And I didn't realize it was like just an innate thing. I just accept it when my joy emanates and I get through the things I have to get through with chronic pain, people see that. And it's not that there's this compared despair, oh, we have to be like Misha, she's got pain 24 hours a day, so we should be up and doing. But it's that if I give you a smile, you don't need to give me one back because I have enough for myself right now. In my lifetime where I am now, I have plenty of smiles for myself. I laugh at my own jokes. I talk to myself. It's perfect. It's a beautiful, really, really good relationship. But what I
Yes.
notice is that the more I do what I do by showing up and sharing with people my real self, that gives people permission to do the same. Um, so, for example, when I was working with women who were pregnant, I was a doula, a volunteer doula, and they would say it hurts. And other people were like, it's going to be over soon. I would say, yes, it fucking hurts. Excuse my language, everybody. Because we have to acknowledge, we really have to acknowledge. So the more people start to see me acknowledging, the more they will have permission to acknowledge. And when we can really identify our truths, we can move through them. We don't
Hmm.
skirt around them. We don't go over and under them. We go through them and we can feel even more joy. And so I feel like I'm helping the world one smile at a time, one person at a time by being who I really am and not hiding anymore and not
Yeah.
being judgmental of myself. And so therefore not giving people who I really am. And that may be being truthful. My boys always tell me like, Mom, we know where you stand. So that when I tell them they look great today or that they're, really smart, they don't see it as being just mom telling us. They
Yeah.
know that I tell it like it is with love. And that's what I think, sorry, that's what I think. I don't have to apologize. Anyways, that's why I think that, that's how I'm changing the world,
Yeah.
one person at a time.
Yeah, because truly the world needs more compassion. Like the truly, um, if we can just be more compassionate with others and more compassionate with ourselves, like so many things would right themselves. Um,
Yeah.
so yes, and then my final question, which is again, I'll always ask, how does your voice help you do the work that you do?
Oh, what a beautiful question from a voice coach. I love you, Monifa. You know, my voice, um, I don't know who to thank for it, but what I will say is when let's see, my voice actually can be effective when it's spoken and when it's silent. It has dual purpose. It's like when I speak, if I'm pause and I take my time to be the word I'm looking for. Um, well, let me backtrack a little bit. My voice can only help me stand and rise in the world to help other people stand and rise in the world if I'm listening. So when I pause and I'm not speaking, if I'm listening, then my voice is doing exactly what it needs to be doing. Once I've listened, then I use my voice where it's necessary. My dad told me a really wonderful but awful thing many years ago. I love him dearly, but it was like a huge ego blow. Misha, you're right, but not everybody needs to know it. So there are times when listening to our children, listening to our families, listening to our friends, our partners is all we need to do. We don't need to be right in every moment. And that's compassion. And that's how I prefer these days to use my voice. So I think I answered the question. I got a little emotional, so I got a little distracted.
No, it's beautiful. It's so beautiful and it's so perfect. It's so perfect um because that is the key. The key, a lot of people, I work with people who don't already know how to sing a lot of times that they may have problems matching pitch, they might have problems producing sounds that they want to make. So that is the answer is that usually, we're assuming we already know or we're assuming we're already right. That's part of it.
Mhm.
But the key is listening, and then the key is
Mhm.
listening not just to what you think needs to happen, but what's actually happening within you and what's going on in that connection of when to speak, right?
Mhm.
And so it's
You know,
so perfect because that's exactly what it is.
great. I'm glad yay, ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, exactly.
What I will say, which I didn't say, is that since I started singing again and writing my own music, my own lyrics, there's been something so profound that the writing of my lyrics has soothed tremendously my wounds from the inside. But then being able to gift my music to other people, and I do actually now get to say gift my music because I feel more confident that people are really liking it and saying that they like it and meaning it. But the message that comes through with my lyrics is also a way that my voice is able to carry to others and make a difference.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, our songwriters are so precious, all y'all out there,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what music and creativity is about speaking to what is. Um, and when you have that ability to just like, again, speak into what needs to be heard, It
Yeah.
really is a precious gift. It really is. So thank you so much, Misha. I appreciate you so much for being with us here today on Biz Passion Voice. Again, not right now, but in about 5 minutes, you'll see Misha's information along with her links in the description of the video. And go ahead and tell them what you have. Like she has a gift for you guys. Like, yeah, so pay attention.
Yeah, so I have I have two programs coming up for my students, and then I also have a program for moms. But the students for the summer, I only have 7 spots left. It's called Stress Less School Readiness Summer Program. I'm a trained coach through Gretchen Wagner's anti boring approach to powerful studying. And so I use those 6 weeks to work with the students to get organized, to kind of figure out what are their systems to better prepare them for the next school year. It's wonderful for fifth graders going into middle school, and it's wonderful for eighth graders going into high school, and it's wonderful for high school seniors going into college. So it's an opportunity to really get an idea. Now, I do not believe that that's the miracle cure. So I also have my Year Strong program. What I'm given to the listeners and viewers is to have a 20% discount from my summer program. And I've given the link to Monifa. And when you put the code in, stress less now, all one word, you'll get that 20%. But it's for the summer session. Again, I always meet with you can sign up, but you're not in contract until I've met with you and I've met with your student, because if it's not a good fit, it's not like you just go into grocery store and buy some bananas. We really have to meet and make sure that it's a good fit for us. So I'm really excited. I feel like what I will say is I'm only taking 10 students for the fall. So if you are interested in the year program, you might want to get on a call with me right away, and I'll send the link it's on my website. I'll give my website link to Monifa. You can schedule your complimentary 45-minute breakthrough session with me to figure out if academic life coaching is for your student. And if you're a mom out there who's stressing out with your preteen or teens, you can also make an appointment to talk to me, and we can see if my Joyful Heart program is for you as well. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Misha. Definitely check out her programs. It's rare that you get an amazing teacher with amazing wisdom and amazing approach so that you can really get the results that you're looking for. So check her out. Go to the links, check out her
Oh,
website.
I
What?
forgot to tell everybody I am trilingual. So if you
Oh,
speak
yeah.
Spanish or French or English, Espanol, Francais, you can connect with me too. Sorry, I
Fabulous.
forgot.
Trilingual. Yes. So many amazing things in that package. Yay, Misha. All
Thank you.
right.
Thank you.
Yes. So have a good rest of your week and blessings for your students. And I will see you around because we hang out together.
We do. All right. Thanks everybody for watching and listening.